Lorraine Whitman, grandmother white sea turtle, is the daughter and granddaughter of chiefs. Her family was political, and so was she. Among her many, and I mean many achievements, she was elected counselor of the Glooscap First Nation for 17 years. She was on the board of directors of the Confederacy of Mainland Mi'kmaq. She worked on the Aboriginal Diabetes Initiative. In 2019, she was elected president of the Native Women's Association of Canada. She has received numerous awards, and today she's going to help us understand life from an Indigenous lens. Please welcome, and in Mi'kmaq, Jalase, Elder Lorraine Whitman, grandmother white sea turtle.
Well, Alan, thank you very much for the beautiful introduction. And I'm truly honored to be here today to speak. And I did see that little slideshow, and I seen all of the, the elders, the seniors that were there, the energy that they give to each and every one of us, right from, swimming, to their dance, to even having a glass of wine. So, Walalin, Deluisi Lorraine Whitman, grandmother white sea turtle. And I'd like to acknowledge the land of Mi'kmaq, unceded traditional territory of the Mi'kmaq Ilnu people. I come to you from Mi'kmaq, as I am one of 14 children to the late Chief Joseph Peters and Elder Doris Peters, and I am one of their 7 daughters born to my parents. I humbly respect the opportunity to share with you, and I'm honored, truly honored, to take part in this Silver Economy Summit from the matrilineal perspective of an Ilnu Mi'kmaq elder and woman. The theme of this conference is the silver opportunities in Nova Scotia's economy. And I see it as a great opportunity to move forward in all stands, as we have all are, treaty people. My background as an Ilnu Ebit, Ebit meaning woman, and my upbringing as Indigenous women living in Nova Scotia. And the historic past has influenced my way, of life as being a woman living in Nova Scotia, and the opportunities it's given me and how valuable they are. In saying that, I am not here to give you a history lesson, but I am here to share the influence of my parents' community and elders and others to their contributions that have, made the influence molding my personality as a Mi'kmaq elder today. I am a young elder. I'm in my 60s, but our elders are passing on. And we need to be able to generate and to be able to keep that knowledge moving. So I'm certainly appreciated as being an elder and recognized as one in my early 50s. So with this influence, it certainly has made a difference. And I just want to share how it is shown through the Indigenous lens, my perspective to a non-Indigenous. I have initially acknowledged the territory of Mi'kmaq, and this is in the introduction of our land base, and it certainly shows a change in the regards of the Truth and Reconciliation Report. My work as president, as Native Women of Canada, over 50% of my work that I do is in relation to the missing, murdered Indigenous women and the findings that came out of that report as a genocide. It's in the outcome that many of our Indigenous have shared through their stories, through their testimonies that was written. So through this healing, it's so vital for all of Canada to acknowledge this report, of this finding of genocide, and being aware of its openings and how it has opened the eyes and has brought about the collaboration of many peoples coming together, for we are all treaty people. My generations, ancestors have signed treaties on peace and friendship, along with your ancestors who have signed those treaties as well. So we come together to work collaboratively. So this summit certainly expresses way to move forward and change us, in which the partnership and relationship to strengthen the economy of Nova Scotia. Because of the knowledge and the support that the elders share, have influenced my communities by expressing their identities, whether it be in the regalia making. If you've ever attended a powwow, you'll see the beautiful regalia. They're not costumes. They're classified as regalia because when we do our regalia, when we do our bead work or quill work on it, we always do prayers. We always pray when we do it because it's so meaningful. It's the prayers that our elders give us so that we can generate, our prayers throughout everyone. So thus, in itself, it's an example of an innovative entrepreneurship that the Indigenous people contribute to the awareness of our culture in Nova Scotia, in our communities, and abroad. So bringing this awareness is so important, especially in the tourism economy. The tourism, unfortunately, with COVID, is certainly affected, the Mi'kmaq and many people that go to the summer markets and what have you. It's affected the economy, but it doesn't mean it has to stop. It means that we have to be in more innovative ways. And I've noticed many people are now doing it online. They're doing it virtually. So sometimes out of a crisis, good can come. And that's where we're at. We're trying to do the best that we can. So I do come from a family of basket makers, of goldsmiths, and Sports International. My grandfather was a goldsmith. He used to do gold jewelry. He also used to go down into the States, in the New England states, and in their government buildings, you'll see the gold gindling all around. And that was my grandfather's work. He did a lot there. In our local area where I, was born in Middleton, in our next town, he did a lot of the fancy work, for many of the, the non-Indigenous. Adding to that, my mother was from a seamstress. Her mom was a beautiful seamstress, and her grandmother were basket makers, and they used to go from door to door selling their baskets. In the day, potato baskets were a big, commodity. They would be getting their fruits or vegetables or their garden, harvesting them with the potato baskets. So they would get worn over the years. So this was a really big, input, and it was a way of life. My father, he was in sports. He used to, as a young man, work, getting wood, and he would get on the rivers, and he would be one of these guys that would jump from log to log to make sure that the wood would go down, the logs into the river. So he did that as fun. But as he got older, he went into competitions in the States where he did log rolling, burling, canoe tilting, double axe throwing, and log chopping. But this was something that came natural to him. And he also was going in a competition with a fellow from Japan in the world champion log rolling. And as a young girl, I always wondered, why didn't he fulfill that? But one day in the mail came a large envelope. My mother opened it, and she didn't understand x-rays, and it had Joseph Peters and all the information. So she left it there. But later on in life, I had asked Dad, why didn't you ever go? Well, as what had happened, he had fallen when he was away on the sports road, and it had left his foot just about a quarter of an inch off balance. And my father was a very agile man. But because of that little bit, he wasn't able to continue. So he had to go in other careers. So he went into carpentry. And then, of course, he was in the service as a young man. And then he was a commissioner at the hospital at, Greenwood base when I was younger. So all of this, and then my entrepreneurship came as a young child, and that was selling Mayflowers for 50 cents a bouquet. I would go picking, I would bring them home. Mom would take an old, the lace off an old dress or whatever, and I would get some spruce boughs and put in, because it was so beautiful to have that greenery amongst the flowers. We would tie them together, and I would go door to door, and I'd sell them for 50 cents. And in that day, in the early 60s, that was a lot of money. And I still continue to pick my Mayflowers for people who love them, especially the older population, as seeing me as a little girl, and bringing in, there's nothing better than bringing a gift to someone, because that's from your heart. And, we don't see enough people giving of themselves, because they're always expecting something in return. And that's not the point of giving. The point of giving is of yourself from your heart. So in respect, our elders are held so high status in our communities, because they are the knowledge keepers. They're our medicine keepers. They're our storytellers. They help with our ceremonies. But most of all, the women and girls, they're the givers of life. The Indigenous women, and all women, we are the ones that bring a living child into this world. So we are so important. And I want to stress that to all of us that are out here virtually and who are here. So these elders are respected. Their values and their teachings of our 7 sacred teachings, or also known as our grandfather teachings, of love, courage, respect, honesty, humility, honor, and truth, and wisdom at the final stage. And that's the wisdoms, and that's why we're here today. The seniors, from all of the work that you do, the wisdom that you give all of us, to be able to make contributions, for a better society for tomorrow. So with these teachings that are given to me from the 7 sacred teachings, we need to make sure that they're passed on so they won't be lost or forgotten. So I'm excited, to share all of these and to be able to attend this important summit. As elders, we transfer our knowledge to the younger population. Through our knowledge, our youth are able to expand their entrepreneurship and their business ideas. Just from myself selling Mayflowers, from going out selling baskets, doing our quill work, so much of this. And, this is only one part that our elders do. But our elders are so highly respected. And when I say elders, I also respect, seniors. That would be the non-Indigenous name that I would use, would be seniors, because on our communities, we always use the word elders. And there's 2 types of elders. One is one that's so highly respected, and the other one can be an elder that could be a cranky old one and likes to gossip and what have you. So you really have to watch who your elders truly are. And the elders are the essence of our community. This path of optimistic entrepreneurship has, and is moving forward the richness of our culture, our heritage, our language, our foods, and what have you. So as we make our land acknowledgement at the very beginning, we also start off with prayer, which I didn't do today. But when we do this prayer, it's not one of a certain religion, but it's one of faith, in that when we do the prayer, it's asking for guidance. It's asking for tools that we can move forward to, because we're asking someone more higher than myself, someone who's there that I can talk to and know that they're always there for me when I need guidance. So it's the tools, and it's the protection and the motivation through my prayer, from our wrongdoings, acknowledging truly who we are, and making this positive experience moving forward in a good way. So an example of our inclusiveness, in the tourism industry is through the foods. One example is Devour. This is an event some of you may be familiar with. It's the involvement of the Mi'kmaq of Nova Scotia, allowing the public the being part of the importance of the food and the gathering, implementing into the taste of Nova Scotia so others can appreciate the Indigenous foods and meals that we offer. This is an initiative put together, and I will add that on the shoulders of my daughter Sabrina, who brought it to life, and having the 3 communities that are outside Wolfville area to be able to contribute what we have to contribute. So through her guidance and traditional teaching, she has obtained as a young girl and as a youth working together with the elders, it has taken a lead in the important event and the structure, opening the door of food, business, service, and culture to the general public, such as eel stew. I'm not sure if many of you have, been able to or had the opportunity, but eel stew, eating fiddleheads, collecting sea greens, wild potatoes, drinking shakati, having spruce gum, chewing it, having wild berry tea. So all of these are being introduced and letting people know the foods that we had, the drinks we had, to everyone. And, the one important sweet medicine that we had, and that's the sap of the tree, making our syrup. That's a medicine, but it's a sweet medicine. So it's letting everyone know where it originated from and how we work with it and implement it into our teachings and what have you. This venture has certainly helped me in the awareness, in the value of Indigenous people and the contributions that were given to the early settlers in Mi'kma'ki, in the economy. And it has only enriched Nova Scotia economy through the Indigenous influence. This has opened the door of Nova Scotia in highlighting, the chefs preparing these foods, educating the importance and the values of Mi'kma'ki society through business and the growth in Nova Scotia and the education, which is so important and it's such a valuable piece, to all peoples. So it's a unique niche for our youth and elders alike to be able to share and taste the experience of the Mi'kmaq traditional food. And some of this, has been lost over the years due to the 60 school, the residential school, the day schools, because we were put in situations where we could no longer do what we were used to, our food, speak our language and what have you. But that's another story. But we're bringing it all back and we're letting everyone know and to share this. And to me, it's really exciting because it's part of me that everyone should know. And I certainly appreciate being part of this summit. And we have elders in our background motivating our initiatives by their traditional knowledge. And they've been providing it to us for centuries. That's why we're story tellers, because it tells the story of the past, bringing it into today. And as we change over time, so they have been respected for hundreds of years with their knowledge and being passed down. And I support the upcoming generations of our elders and our youth. And being involved as a youth myself and continuing, as being an elder. And it was, said to me, my father always said, you don't always need to be paid to do something good and to volunteer. You can volunteer. And he says, do it because the gift of giving is so more powerful than the gift of dollars being back and expecting something. Do something that tickles your heart. And volunteering to me tickles my heart because that's what we should be doing. And that's the love that needs to be shared, especially in the times we're in today. And then recently, I had received the Nova Scotia Volunteer Award. I received the Grand Chief Marshal Senior Elders Award last year for Treaty Day. And this is certainly an award that certainly boosted me, and I'm still in awe because to me it's such a prestigious award to be given to an elder. So it's so meaningful to work and do things that you love and enjoy, and then be acknowledged by others, knowing that you've done this for the love of what you do. So, I believe in equality. I'm very passionate about the agricultural component. One business my husband and I both had, we were partners in the agricultural field. He has his degree from McGill. 18 years we worked in the greenhouse business. Until he became sick. And then I believed in also helping other women and countries. So I went into the fair trade coffee business, and the coffee that, roasted is Seven Sacred Teachings out of Just Us in Grand Prix. And I enjoy doing that because it's what it's doing. It's, come sit with me, come have a coffee and ask me questions that you would like to in a safe spot. And like we're in today, we're in a safe environment. So ask me questions because I'm not going to be upset. I'm just going to answer you with the truth that I have and the knowledge that I have. So this is where I'm coming from. So I just want to be open and transparent to each and every one of you, and the importance that I contribute. I speak to you as an elder. I speak in my community of Gluskap First Nation. And it's time, things are here to change. And as we know, life is forever changing. We know that our bodies are starting to change, but we still have the intellect of our minds and being able to speak and being able to share. And these are such important components. And that's why I humbly come to you here, in sharing my gratitude and my involvement. This crisis of technology has become so important for the tools of elders and seniors. And it has opened doors by moving forward. We're taught and knowing that we have to use our phones to be able to communicate, to see our loved ones through FaceTime or our computers, as what we're doing today, our virtual events. These are so important. So we have to look at our younger generation to teach us. They think that we just know it because we're older. Well, we don't. We weren't in the same classes. They're learning all of this technology, which they know off their fingertips. But it's for us to learn from them. So it's so important that we know that we need to work together in collaboration, and the cooperation that we both can share and give each other. But in closing to all of this, it's just to remember, that a dream is not just a dream, but make it a reality. And at the same time, it gives the elders, inspires them to continue to give their spirit, their support and knowledge, and to motivate and inspire others to reach their full potential. And we need to know that, we are here for them. Some people haven't that background. And I go into some of the smaller classes in schools, and I speak about our 7 sacred teachings of love and respect, and also courage, because there's so much bullying. We need to let people know that, we need to give tools to the ones that are being bullied so they have the courage to speak up for themselves. But we also need to know, why are these bullies? What happens when that door closes, when they get on the school bus and they go home? What happens in their home? We can't forget that the bully also needs protecting and needs tools and guidance. And that's why we're so important. And, as I see this as a silver summit, I always call my hair, Arctic fox, because I love the whiteness. I don't dye my hair. My other sisters have, but now they're also going natural. And I just didn't have the the time or the means to dye my hair, because it was time I was wasting out of doing something that I wanted to do. And then I'd have to keep up to dyeing my hair. So when I see silver, it's in the direction of the north. And this is in the direction where our elders are. It's in the direction where winter is. And as we look at winter, Mother Earth is what happens. Our Creator wants us all to rest. And in the winter, we do rest. We aren't as active as we usually are in the summer. And this is where we get our energy for rejuvenating, for our spring, for when it goes into the direction of the east, and that's the color red. So with this, I'm certainly so happy to be here, and I am going to leave time and room for questions, or if there's areas that you would like me to emphasize a bit more on. I'm certainly willing to take any of your answers or questions, I should say, at this point in time, because it's also about you. It's about what I can bring to you and how you'll be able to take what I've taught into your communities, because we always do a smudging in which we clear our minds and we open our eyes so that we don't just stay within that little box. We open it so we can see a broader area. We smudge our ears so that we don't only hear, but we listen to the message that's being told and being spoken about. So that's there. And then we go towards our mouths, because everything that we see, we hear, and we think, we need to let it out, and we need it positive, not negative. There's enough of negativity that we see on TV and rumors. We need that positively, to be spread. And then we go towards our heart, because it comes from our spirit. It comes from the inside. And knowing that, this is what makes our heart tickle is what we're doing today. And it's a virtual event. I certainly thank you. And then we go towards our feet, because what we need to do is what we see, we hear, we speak. We need to take it from here to another. And for every person that we speak to, it reaches 10 other people. And then when they talk, it reaches 10. So the more positive energy that we can spread, that's what we're here, what we're to do. And I pray a lot. I pray when I get up. I pray during the day. I pray when I do my smudges. Last night was a full moon, and it was a blossom moon. So I did prayers, with Grandmother Moon, and it was a beautiful moon. If any of you had the opportunity to see it, it was a beautiful red moon. And that's what we do. We accept what we have. So with that, Walaliak, for having me here, and I am ready for questions. If any of you would like to answer, what have you. So Walalin.
Oh, Lorraine, thank you, thank you, thank you. First of all, I'm not dyeing my hair anymore. I totally agree with you. Like, it just takes up too much time. And I loved your explanation of the smudging ceremony. I have smudged, but I've never heard it explained so wonderfully, how you smudge every single part of your body and what that means. What can I'm just so struck by how the Indigenous culture handles and respects and recognizes elders. So what can our culture learn from you?
Well, right now you're already doing that. You have invited me to this forum to be able to express what I do, what we do as an Indigenous, just the respect of saying, Lorraine, can you come and talk to me? Because we don't know. And I want people to be in a setting, in an environment where they feel that they can ask whatever question without being, told, what? Oh my God, I'd never asked that question. Because, it's the question that you don't ask. It's a question you should have. And I've learned that at a young age, because, in schooling and what have you, I can remember my father, I used to struggle. I don't know why they asked such a question. And my father would then reflect it back to me. Well, why didn't you ask? And I thought, yeah, Well, I didn't think, well, you can't condone and you can't put anyone down if you don't ask that question or get yourself involved. So I've gotten myself involved. I've been brought up, as a in the Catholic Church, and I've been, very influenced. And I practice both. My cultural and my faith is very important to me, and I carry that because of all of the trauma that's happened in my life. With our family, with my siblings being taken with a 60 scoop, family members being raped, alcoholism, and even the residential schools with my mom, and, just living as an Indigenous person in a non-Indigenous environment, and contributing. It makes such a difference. So if people ask for me to come, I certainly am willing. And that's why I have created this, which I had said, that Seven Sacred Teaching Coffee. We always say, join me for tea, come for coffee. Well, come for coffee. I'll even bring it to your house and I'll help you. And you can ask me questions where you are in an environment and situation and setting that you're comfortable. In saying that, I have opened our community up. If people want to come and be able to speak to us or have a forum or a conference, give the First Nation community, my community at Gliscap. Right now, we're under COVID, but any other time, we would be able to host it for you. And then you would see through the lens of what you would think a First Nation community is. I call it a community because Gliscap is a newer community set up by the Indigenous families. 7 families setting it up. So it's a community. It's not a reserve where the government put us on it. It's still classified as a reserve, but it's a community because it's our people that chose to live there, not be forced. So that's one area that can be open as well.
Can you just remind us of the 7 sacred teachings just before I go to the next question?
Okay, the 7 sacred teachings are love. That's the first one. Each and every one of us has been given that. And there's 2 components. One is the physical, the nurturing, the loving. The other one is the spirit. And that's the spirit. And that's the one gift that each and every one of us have been given, is that condition of love. Then we have courage. And that's courage, to be able to speak up, to be able to be part of whatever, ask questions, or like I said, as a bully. Then there's respect, giving respect to each and every one of us, knowing that we're different. We come from diverse backgrounds, diverse, we come, whatever be, we're diverse, and it's respecting each other and listening to their words. The other is honesty, being honest to yourself, who you are. Are you honest to who you truly are? Are you following your dream? Are you following the red path? Courage. No, we went through courage. Then we have humility. And humility is knowing that we're all very humble. Sometimes our children, we may say little white lies to our children so that we can get them to do something. Well, those little white lies are still not the best, but it's humility and knowing we're going to get caught up into it. So we have to be humble in that aspect. So humility comes in. Then there's truth, which is the sea turtle. The sea turtle had made an oath to our creator, to Niskum, saying that, I will continue to teach all of those 7 sacred teachings so those values will not be lost or forgotten. And, my spirit name is Grandmother White Sea Turtle. So these teachings must continue. And then we have, most of all, is wisdom. And we may not meet wisdom. We may not know all when it's our final day. But it's knowing that what we get from all of these other teachings, we use in a very respectful, honorable way.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. So here's a question from Elizabeth Haggard. Thank you for sharing. Oh, it's a comment, I believe. Thank you for sharing your stories. You have reminded us of all the various ways that we contribute as we get older. How true. And also how we can learn from each other throughout our lives. And Penny Henneberry said, thank you so much for sharing. One final question. What would happen if, in your culture and in our culture collectively, if our older adults and elders were not respected?
It would be such a loss, in society. It would be, our younger generation, as you know, when I was younger, we were given a switch if we did wrong, but that was part of our, it wasn't to abuse in any way, shape, or form. It was the way that we were taught to respect. And if there's no respect with our elders not being there, and I have seen it go from, and I'm sure all of you have seen it go from one end of the pendulum to the other, where if we go and discipline our children, they can put us up and they can say that we beat them when we spanked them. And that has happened. So we need to really, truly look that our older generation are so important to the whole scheme. Without our elders, our children will not learn and understand or appreciate or respect themselves because they don't have any identity. Because what you give to your grandchildren, the love that you give, the hugs, the kisses, they remember that, and they then take that love and it just amplifies and it goes on and on. And that's why it's so important. And when I seen, that little bit of some of those elders, that gentleman swimming, I thought, holy crow. I mean, the body that he has, is so much better than some in our teens, but he knows the value of taking care of our soul and, feeding our spirit, and the skaters, the dancers, and even the fellow who has a wine at the end of the day. All the more power to you, because you know what? You bring me the inspiration that I need. And like I said, I'm a very young elder, and I need that teaching. And I always look at my older generation. I have a lady who just turned 100, and she's very inspirational, but she told me that I'm more of an inspiration to her than what she ever thought she ever was to me. With what she has is just so tremendous, but she never heard it from the lens of an Indigenous. So we would lose so much if we weren't included here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's all a matter of educating ourselves.
Oh, so, certainly.
Elder Lorraine Whitman, Grandmother White Sea Turtle, you have tickled my heart. and I'm sure you've tickled all our hearts. Thank you so much for your speech and your questions, and most importantly, for your wisdom. And as you get to my age and to Olive's age, you're going to get better and better and better.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.